let's get into the big topic of open source, something that we actually say at Red Hat.
We have a
This is so
we
awesome.
are an open culture that believes
actually
in
a big
importance of
piece
What is that process that a developer, or let's say
As the Kubernetes ecosystem really boomed,
Hi, and welcome to another episode of In the Clouds. I am your host, Stu Miniman. It is officially summer here in the Northern Hemisphere at the end of June. And really excited. Once again, we have a release of OpenShift. This time it is OpenShift 4.19. What we've always tried to do on this show is bring on a product manager who's heavily involved in some of the key features on it. So I am happy to welcome to the program, coming to us from Madrid, Spain, we have Maria Simone Marcos. She is a principal product manager focused on security in the OpenShift team. Maria, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, a lot of security stuff for us to talk about in 4.19.
Hi, thank you for having me. And yeah, a lot to discuss because OpenShift 4.19 came with a lot of security features.
Yeah, Maria, before we get into the OpenShift part, if you could just give us a little bit about, your background, what brought you to Red Hat, and, your role with us.
Yeah, well, I work as part of the security pillar team in OpenShift. That is the team that handles basically the security for the platform. I'm specifically working on a couple of operators that are focused on security. One of them is one of the layer products on top of OpenShift, which is Advanced Cluster Security, and I'm also involved in Telco Security. And my background actually, I came to Red Hat 3.5 years ago, and in the past I've also done security. I mean, I've been in security for the last 7 years, but actually my background comes from the telco business. So. Yeah, I've done a bunch of different roles from developer to where I am today. And I think it's good because it gives me a little bit of perspective, and I'm really excited to work in OpenShift, which is a very technical product.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's interesting. I did a little bit of stint in telco early in my career. People have been around remember it was Lucent, which I joined right after it spun out from AT&T. I have a bit of networking in my background, which always had me at least security adjacent, and something we talk about always. And look, I mean, security, I've got the tech marketing folks for our advanced cluster security products, so I keep up on it. And when I talk to customers, I mean, security is always front and center in the conversation.
Yes, it is.
All right, so 4.19. What's interesting is, it has come out now, but there were a few of the things in 4.19 that we actually shone a big spotlight on just at Red Hat Summit, which was not too long ago. The first one, Maria, I want to touch on is OpenShift Lightspeed. So it's something that we announced a year ago, but it's now generally available. I'm super excited about it. Wonder from your standpoint, what's OpenShift Lightspeed bring to the platform?
It's a new way of interacting with OpenShift, and we are seeing it already with the different agents where you can directly ask questions. You have different expectations in terms of resolution and also the language in which this information is going to be provided to you. So it's good to have a human readable and speaking in human readable format, and it also makes it easier for customers that may not have the technical understanding and want to swipe through a lot of different pages to get information. It summarizes the information much easier.
Yeah, I'd say from my standpoint, it's two things. Number one, as you said, right, we have a lot of documentation, and whether you're an OpenShift expert or a newbie coming from some other environment, it's much easier to just ask a query. So, for example, one of the fun ones I love is, if you're like a VMware admin and you come in and you say hey, how do I vMotion? It'll immediately go in and be like, oh, well, hey, we call that live migration, and here's how you do it. And the second thing also is, if I run into any issues, I can pull in logs, I can pull in status, and you can be like, hey, why didn't this cluster start? Or, why am I getting this error? And it will come back and be like, oh, here's the relevant information, here's something you might want to do, and here's how you can resolve these things. So everybody's looking at how AI can improve efficiency and productivity, and OpenShift Lightspeed included in the platform, now generally available in 4.19. So it's awesome. I actually want, for our audience, hopefully you've seen Ask an OpenShift Admin, but we will pop into the chat. Andrew Sullivan and Johnny Rickard did a whole breakdown as to some of the highlights of recent activity, and they've got a demo that I've got time linked in here that we will share, so you can check out see what OpenShift Lightspeed looks like actually. Cool. Second one, Maria, this show is called In the Clouds. We've spent a lot of time talking about AI over the last year, but when it comes to clouds, we work to make sure that our security message is the same in every environment, and we're also working to make sure that most of our features work wherever they are. So the big update that we had in 4.19 around virtualization is OpenShift virtualization has been available for about a year with our AWS offering, Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS. We now have at least a tech preview across all the major clouds. So Azure, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud's generally available, and Oracle Cloud even all have some OpenShift virtualization support. I have to imagine, you do some interaction with the cloud. Any cloud commentary you want to add on recent activity?
I just think it's very, very exciting that we are there as Red Hat and that we have an offering. We also have my mind is always speaking security. So having AI as a workload in OpenShift, we are also looking into what are the threats that come around there and how can we protect them better. So I'm fine-tuned into the AI topic in the future.
Okay. All right. Well, Maria, let's talk about your specialty, security itself. There's a lot to unpack there. So I guess I'll start with one that has been an interesting conversation because our friends over at IBM bought HashiCorp recently. And so secrets management has been something that we talk about as part of our overall offering. And one of those pieces is, working with Vault. So what's the latest when it comes to secret management and OpenShift?
So for example, in 4.19, there are some announcements, and basically we try to answer some of the most wanted RFPs from customers. So one of those, for example, is external secrets operator. So customers were interested into supporting this, in OpenShift. It was an upstream project, so we have heard them, and now it is supported. It is a day 2 operator, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to create and rotate and consume credentials in OpenShift, but these credentials are actually managed in whatever external secret operator of choice that you are interested in. That is one that comes to my mind. The other one will be, for example, enhancements that we have done in terms of OpenShift routes. Now they can consume TLS certificates directly from Kubernetes secrets. And the benefit for this is that we also have Cert Manager as another operator in OpenShift. So you can use Cert Manager to automatically rotate these and renew them. So it eases a lot the manual effort interaction.
Yeah, you mentioned the TLS acronym there. That's come up. One of the interesting conversations has been around what happens when quantum computing rolls out, and what will be the impact on cybersecurity. There were some announcements in 4.19 around what post-quantum looks like from a security standpoint. So help us understand what that means and what we've done.
So just to help understand to the people that are listening, how this is changing the game of cryptography. So all the cryptography that has been built till now relies on the paradigm that it will take ages to kind of decrypt the algorithm. What happens is that the computers are evolving, and now we have quantum computers that are more advanced, and they can do a lot of things better than current computers. And one of those things that they do good is factoring numbers. And so because of that, a lot of the algorithms that we thought they were secure till now, when quantum computing comes along, they are considered unsecure. And so NIST has been the leading organization from security perspective that has been trying to lead the effort worldwide. And so there are some algorithms that are right now discovered to be quantum ready. And those are available only in one specific version of the TLS profile, which is the profile 1.3. And because of that, we wanted to make sure that our OpenShift clusters are ready. So we have upgraded to the modern profile. So we have different profiles in OpenShift, TLS profiles. The modern profile will use TLS 1.3, which is the latest version of that specific protocol, and it will basically increase to 1.3 the ingress controller, kubelet, and also the control plane certificates.
Yeah, I was just reading an article from IBM again, who's been leading some of the activity in quantum. And Arvind said, by 2029, he expects it to be, 20,000 times, faster in its processing. So absolutely, if you think about just the impact on that, something that was like, oh, yeah, no, it'll take it years to get through that. And it's like, oh, no, it's going to take it, hours, minutes to break through certain things. So it's great to see the community working on these things. I know it was a super hot topic at the RSA show earlier this year, where we had a presence, and absolutely making sure that security is still maintained going forward. All right, we touched on cloud when we talked about virtualization a little bit, and you mentioned AI. One of the things in 4.19 is cloud confidential computing. What's the update there?
Maybe I want to explain first what is cloud confidential computing, because you might be aware of this, or you might not be aware, but it is basically yet one more way to protect your data. And so I try to explain it in a simple way. Like, let's imagine that you have, let's say, a bakery, and you have a secret recipe. That is your data, and you're already taking care of like storing the ingredients safely and making sure that when the ingredients come along, they are safely. That will be your data at rest, protecting for data at rest and in transit. But now the problem comes that your bakery becomes very, very successful, and now more people are demanding your bread. So now you need to trust an external baking company to produce your bread. And now the question is, hey, if I am giving them my recipe, how can I make sure that when they're actually baking the bread, they are not stealing this information? And this is exactly like how I used to explain what is protecting data in use or in memory. So when the data is actually in memory, is raw, and it could be dumped. And this is the problem. And so in order to fix this, it's basically the solution is cloud confidential computing, and it comes hand by hand with the hardware providers. So the hardware providers like Intel, NVIDIA, AMD, they have started developing trusted execution environments. And just imagine this like a little sandbox inside your CPU. It is basically a place where you can run your confidential application in a secure environment, and making sure that no one else is able to read that while you're actually using it. And in OpenShift, this is cloud confidential computing, and we have two terms, which are confidential containers and confidential clusters. And we have made like in 4.9 moves in both of them. So confidential containers, think about it like as Kata containers. That's the upstream project. In OpenShift, it is the OpenShift Sandbox Containers offering, and it's basically a Kata container that is running in a confidential VM. And we have announced that, for example, we are starting to support in 4.19 on tech preview for IVMC, one specific architecture. And we have in the roadmap the upcoming ones. And then for confidential clusters, think about it as running your secure cluster. So the nodes that your secure cluster is using, those are running on confidential VMs. And so in 4.19, we have also released on tech preview confidential nodes. So this is a step towards confidential containers, because in order to really have the confidential clusters, you need, in addition, attestation, which will be provided by Trustee, which will be coming in the upcoming releases. So we have tech preview confidential nodes for different architectures, both on Google Cloud and Azure E419. So it's very exciting. We are, I think we are going to see a lot of traction, and the roadmap is full of investments in this area.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a great explanation. I remember Kata Containers originally started over, in the OpenStack community, which is run by Open Infrastructure. We've seen that really merge with the CNCF recently. I was at the KubeCon show in London, and they had Jonathan Bryce up on stage and talking about bringing those programs together. So it's great to see some of the work done back in the OpenStack day now being leveraged in some of the cloud communities and bringing all those pieces together. Awesome stuff to see, in open source there.
And Kata Containers is very interesting because I think it's a community upstream that is getting a lot of attention, not just like from companies like Red Hat, but also hardware vendors as well as cloud providers. Everybody's contributing. So we have it's very good to have that as a base, and it's really good to have to be an open source company and really benefit from all those contributions.
Wonderful, great stuff. Last big topic has been one that has been very hot in the security world. Zero trust. Maybe if you could, like you just did for confidential computings, what is it? Why is it so important? And what's the latest when it comes to zero trust?
Yeah, so zero trust. I think you might be referring to the big news about zero trust identity, workload identity.
Manager,
features, operator that we release. Zero trust is definitely an area of investment. Just to explain it simple, it basically means that no part of your infrastructure trusts any other part. So every part needs to be secure by default. In the past, like traditional security, think about you maybe were relying, again, making it simple for people that are listening and don't have the background. Think about it like you have a castle and then you were building walls, and then you were really relying on that wall that is protecting your castle. That will be the traditional security. Now zero trust security will be at every door of the castle, every door, you need to make sure that you are checking every single interaction inside the infrastructure, because something can be considered insecure. And this specific announcement has been related to workload identity. And workload identity, it's just to provide an identity to a workload. That will be an application or a service. But let's say that it makes more sense, and the reason why it has been so important as an announcement is because it plays a big role in multi-cloud environments. So, when you have different clouds from different providers and you need to actually assign a workload, an identity, you want to make sure that is easy and it is basically short-lived and it is rotated. So that's basically the point of workload identity. And what we have released is basically, let's say, I'll first talk about the open source part that we have make a product as part of an operator. So we have a SPIF and a Spire. So SPIF is basically the framework that assigns the identities. And Spire is the open source implementation that automates the rotation, the creation, and verifying these identities. So we have basically put together an operator with this functionality, which is, vendor agnostic in terms of, for example, where it's actually running, and it is the zero trust workload identity operator. And so this is a day 2 operator. It is on tech preview on 4.19, and we plan to GA this soon. And we hope this is a big change, and we are also trying to integrate this with a virtualization story and AI story. But but it definitely makes life much easier for customers that have workloads in different clouds. And they make it more secure because now you don't need to rely on like password, API keys. You're actually relying on very short-lived credentials, which is actually what you want from a security perspective.
Okay, so Maria, boy, there's a lot of wonderful things in 4.19 when it comes to security. Got one bonus question for you, not related to 4.19, but as a product manager for security, how are you thinking about AI? What are the security implications that we need to be concerned about, and as the community needs to be looking at, as we look at this tremendous growth of AI?
Yeah, so AI will be just, I consider it as a workload. It will be running as a workload, but there are a lot of different things that might be different to like the standard workloads that we actually know as of today. We know they might be running LLMs, and we know there are threats associated with it. We also currently, for example, when we talk about containers, we look at the vulnerabilities associated with it, and we check in specific databases, like to see, what are the CVEs that are associated with this specific image. We know there are new areas where this is being exploited. So like there will be in the future AI vulnerability databases in which you can actually also correlate, not just to keep it like you want to see what is actually running. And we have a whole thing, a whole theme inside Red Hat, which is security for AI, which is like it goes from making sure that the AI model is reliable, is doing what it's supposed to do. It is ethical as well, like that even plays a role, like from security perspective as well, because not so much as part of security, but it is because like there are a lot of regulations that are upcoming, and they might be required that you actually make sure that for a AI model to run, it needs to follow specific criteria in terms of, for example, hallucinations, or making sure fairness, ethic, making sure that you know exactly what you are running. So there's going to be a huge investment on this area, and it will be a boom. Like it will be like revolutionary. I'll say more revolutionary, I think, that Kubernetes was when it came.
Awesome. I think we are ready to get to some rapid fire questions from a Red Hat. All right. First one, Maria, is actually my favorite one this last year. We talked a little bit about AI. You personally, how is AI fit into your day-to-day work?
So, for example, now I consume a lot of content through like directly like prompts. Like instead of, for instance, reading documentation, I go and instead of like Googling or searching directly into search engine, you basically pull the information directly with a human readable format. I'm personally, for example, like at this point in time, trying to understand the whole MCP ecosystem and how this can be more efficient for me. For the ones that don't know what the MCP stands for, basically MCP is a way to expose with context, basically an application, so that an LLM is able to use it with more context. And so there is a lot there available, and I personally try to do a couple of tweaks to see whether my email income and like my Slack messages. Like now, I haven't been able to get the MCP for Slack yet running, but I would love to reduce the amount of effort. And transcripting conversations and just summaries is great. Just having an agent that is listening to the conversation, so that you can take notes for you and you can really be paying attention to the conversation.
Yeah, and just for the audience, MCP is a protocol. Many have said it could be the USB protocol for AI. So, right, one of the challenges, Slack has actually limited what data can be shared, which is one of the issues we're having. Salesforce owns it, and data is a hugely important piece of that ecosystem. But I know I was talking to some of the ACS people, we're looking at like, okay, what is an MCP server that can help leverage all that information? Because one of the main things we do is you look at all the logs, you're looking at lots of data, you're looking at CVEs, and how do you reach all of those data sources and be able to bring them all together? So MCP absolutely shows some promise there. Cool. Awesome. Second, so Maria, I don't know about you, but like most of us that work in tech, we end up being IT for a lot of our families. As a security person, I wonder if you have any special like tips or suggestions that you give to friends or family to help make them more secure.
Yeah, one of them would be if you have a VPN, like for example, when you are searching in a public network, which happens to all of us, like for example at the airport, turn your VPN on because you have no idea who can be. Sometimes you just want, like you're in a foreign country, you see a free hotspot, you connect, you just want to kind of like send data. Sometimes you are trusting the wrong partner. And so like if you happen to have a VPN agent in your phone, either you are paying for it or it's provided by, most of the companies provide right now a VPN service for their employees, use it. Yeah, the other thing is always like with my phone, I always have like password there. I want to make sure that, every single application has its own separate password, and I manage all these passwords because they end up being completely difficult to kind of like manage in a, password manager. So, because, in some cases now it's easy to, sometimes you just follow the same pattern and you just change like one letter. That is extremely easy to crack once that one of your passwords has been exposed, which by the way, browsers tell you already. Like if you go, for example, to your browser of choice, the latest versions, you go to the password section, they will tell you, these are all the passwords that you have saved. These are in databases that have been compromised.
Yeah, great tips there. Yeah, and especially, it seems there's always a hack. I know just in the US, there was a 16 billion passwords were just come out. So I made sure I went to my family and said, hey, these common services, just go update your password because it's almost guaranteed that it has been compromised. And you're right, the browser or my phone has a list of like, hey, these passwords, you need to update them. So thank you. Good. God, the VPN one. You're saying I shouldn't just log into every hotel Wi-Fi when I get there. Not do that.
At least if you do, you need to make sure that it is a HTTPS connection, which, I mean, by default it does. And now again, the new browsers, I think they have been releasing these features that they will tell you, like next to the URL, it will be like red, that it says like it's only HTTP and it doesn't have the S, which means that the data is not encrypted end to end. That matters because, sometimes you are just clicking, you're buying something from a website, you put your credit card information, done, like it's there.
All right. Last one I have for you, Maria. It's a fun one. Tell us what's special about summer in the surrounding areas there of Spain.
Spain is an amazing country for summer vacations. I think the entire Europe knows this already. You need to think that it's a country that has a lot of coast. And what is special that Spanish summers are super long. The day, you change the time when you move to Portugal. So like, it's like the days are the longest when it comes to kind of, the southern part of Europe. So if you compare with Italy, that is in the same time zone, our days end up like at 10:30. So it's great. You get a lot done. You can be on the beach until 8:30, and then in Spain we also eat very late. So everything is like the day ends up being very long, and you enjoy it a lot and you make the most out of it. So I recommend everyone to visit Spain, definitely.
Awesome. Visit Spain, get some beach time in. Sounds lovely. We're definitely a little bit jealous over where I am. All right, Maria, thank you so much. It's been great chatting with you, going through all the stuff on 4.19. Security topics, is always, super important. for our audience, please do go check out all the 4.19. We've got some of the links in there. As we're getting into the summer, it's actually not too soon to start thinking about one of the big industry shows, which is KubeCon and Cloud Native Con North America, which is going to be in Atlanta in November. So I know it might seem a little bit far away, but we will have a KubeCon, an OpenShift Commons at KubeCon, of course. We're going to throw the link in there for the call for papers. So especially end users, we'd love to hear your stories out there. Please consider taking a look at that. And if you are going to be at the show, do sign up. It's going to be free to attend and be at a nice location. We have, a good day of what we call the day zero stuff planned on it. So again, Maria, thanks. Pleasure chatting with you. And thank you, everybody, for joining. Look forward to talking with you more on this. And thank you, as always, for joining us on your journey in the clouds.